yet another WinLink tools and tricks presentation, they call it, and we're going to talk about sending a WinLink email message to your good old cell phone, but via SMS. I am, as you see there, those of you who don't know me, I am the emergency coordinator for the Eastern Kern County ARES, not area. I misspelled that. That's good, Dennis. And I'm also assistant section emergency coordinator. Boy, I really messed that up. I was in a hurry and tired. And my boss is on here somewhere. There he is, Dan, WL7COO. I'm his assistant emergency coordinator. Hello, Dan. Glad you're here. Okay, so now with an introduction, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about here. So the big question that I ask is, did you know, in the first place, did you know you can send an email as SMS to a mobile phone? Not a lot of people know that you can do that. And that's a technology or a capability that's been around forever, that you could send an email directly to a mobile phone SMS, so they get a text message. And if you can do it from email, since I can send email with WinLink, why don't I do that from WinLink? So thanks to one of our co-conspirator in Aries here in Kern County, I now have the ability to do this and figured out how to do it. So I'm going to give him credit for that. Richard Rodriguez, he is one of the emergency coordinators for the Western Kern County areas, and he's the one that suggested this. It's been a while now. He just made a comment about it one day, and I said, hey, that's a great idea, and we went with
Dennis is Romeo Juliet Romeo.
Oh, what? No, it's KK6RMR, I'm pretty sure.
RJR.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, you're right. It is RJR. You're right. Yeah, I'm telling you, I put this together after being up most of the night working DX. So I was a little out of it. And I have gone through and proofread it, but I still messed it up. Yeah, you're right. It is RJR. I apologize. Richard, if you're on here, I'm sorry.
It's physiologically impossible to proofread your own work.
Oh, I know. So how does this work? Okay, so there's two approaches to text messaging with what we call SMS, but there's actually two technologies. One is called SMS for short message service, and the other is MMS, which is multimedia messaging service. And the carriers, the telecoms, provide gateways between various services and SMS and MMS. So in other words, they provide gateways between all kinds of things, but the most common gateway is email, but you'll find gateways between all kinds of other services. But the email gateway allows you to send an email as an SMS text message to a mobile phone. So that's something you guys may not have known, or maybe you do know it, but there is a catch. You have to know the recipients. Not only you have to know their phone number, but you got to know their mobile carrier. And that's pretty easy to figure out. If you know the number, you can figure out who the carrier is. So once you know the carrier has that allows you to determine what the gateway domain name is. In other words, its address, internet address, and then you can form the email address with the recipient's phone number. So that's pretty straightforward. And the way we do this, I'm going to determine the domain name. So there are what are called carrier lookup services. Some of these are pay services, and I don't use those. There are free services out there, and those are the ones that we want to use. So, for instance, free carrier lookup is one. There's another one. This one I really do like, this guy. Those are several of them. There's a third one, this one. But if I pick one of these, let me show you what these look like when you bring it up. Get rid of that stuff. So I can put in a phone number. So just for grins, since my phone number is widely published everywhere in the world on the internet, thanks to the various radio clubs I've belonged to and the various positions I've held within those radio clubs, you're going to get to see my phone number. I won't blank it out. So if I punch in my phone number and I do a search, what?
You need to put this dashes.
I guess it wants the dashes. Oh, shoot. Try that again. No. 562-858-2883. That is my phone number. Oh, that's funny. Last time I looked, okay.
208 914
No, well, hang on a second. Let's just go grab one of the other ones. Now, if this tells me my phone number is invalid, I'm in deep trouble. There we go. It's a valid number. Yeah, I knew it was valid. So this is with no. No. Now that's even more interesting because it says it's with Verizon. Boy, this is making a mess out of things tonight.
Perfect presentation.
Yeah, this is great. I love it. Oh, come on. Why does it do this? I've done this for ages and it works just fine. Let's try another one. Because that's not the right information. Oh, brother. I'm not a robot. No, I am not a robot. Oh, it usually doesn't do this. I'm on a different computer. That's why. And it should tell me that I'm, there we go. That's the right one. 858-2883 mobile phone by AT&T. That is correct.
Now, if you
So-
were doing this,
What's that? Sorry.
if you were doing this, you would follow. If you got the first information, which was wrong, you'd spend a half a day trying to
Yeah.
work out the information.
I'd be in trouble. Yeah. Now, I do not understand why this one comes up and says it's an invalid phone number because I've used this site many times and I tested it yesterday when I was putting the charts together. So I did.
Maybe it doesn't like the format with the hyphen. Try putting
Yeah, probably. I wonder if it does it with
the parentheses, not parentheses. What do you call the circular?
no, it's paren. I'm doing the wrong thing here. Hang on. Yeah. Let's try that.
That ASCII character.
Still says
Move the 8 next to the parentheses.
what's that?
Move the 8 next to the parentheses.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it wants any of that. It just wants a straight 10-digit number.
Yeah, that's what this one always just takes a straight digit number and they provide the one country code.
Is that 01 or 1?
It's one. That's US country code is one.
Hey, Dennis,
Not
don't feel
open.
so bad. Mine came up invalid too.
2883. You can try that. It works.
The beauty of free software on the
Oh my
internet.
gosh, this is crazy. And this one, I don't get that one. Why it's saying that it certainly is not Verizon. That's not my carrier. Never has been. Oh well.
Hey, Dennis,
Well, anyway, we do know that my carrier is AT&T. So that is correct. So what the idea is that you go to the website, you enter the number and it returns a carrier and you go from there with to get the domain name. So to get the domain name, there's a lot of ways to get the domain name. If you know the carrier, and what would happen is if you sent a message to that one that said Verizon, it would bounce. It would never make it to me. So you'd get an error message if you tried to send that. So that's the one good thing out of it. But there's a couple of really good websites that are out there, and these are pretty complete. This one is a really good list of I mean this is a really complete listing of all carriers, probably pretty much every carrier that that exists throughout the world. So for instance, say if I go to A's and I look for AT&T somewhere here, right there, and there is the gateway right there. So 10-digit number at txt.att.net. That's the actual gateway. That is their domain for their gateway. That's their domain name, text.att.net. So if you look up any of the others like Verizon, you'll find
VTech.
yeah, Verizon's got a different one. It's vtext, and there it is right there if your carrier is Verizon. Let's see who else we got out here. There's a couple of other ones here we have that I use for some of the numbers. But anyway, that's one of the websites. The other one that I put up here on the list is really nice. This is actually a PDF that has all this. So you can actually print this thing out and have a copy of it. So it's got a lot of good information in there. So there's that one. That's the PDF. So feel free to, of course, you'll get all these addresses in the hard copy when I send that to Dan. All right. So for example, we just did that. If I want to email to that number, Yeah. I just picked a non-existent number, but it's an AT&T number. If I look this up, and that's interesting. Let's see what happens when I look this number up, because this should work. Oops, sorry, I can't do that. I got to type it in, but anyway, I can't just copy it off of there. What am I thinking? Returns carrier is AT&T Mobility, which is correct. That's what it should be. And so you form the address using the gateway domain. So it's 562.8. I typed it on wrong again. 858.
No, I haven't.
1234. Oh well. Disregard my typos, please. Text at .att.net, and that's how you get that address. And the next thing you're going to do is just paste that into a WinLink message. So I open a WinLink message, and I just use that as my email address. Now there are restrictions on this. One of the restrictions is that it only supports ASCII text. So you can't send like an HTML or something along those lines. You can't send images, things like that. That won't work. If you send HTML, it'll show up as garbage, basically. So that does not work. You're also limited to 160 characters, which is an SMS limitation, 160 characters per message. So if your message is longer than that, and there's no reason why it can't be, it just gets broken up into multiple messages. But one of the hiccups is that sometimes it'll break it in the middle of a word. So, if 160 characters falls in the middle of a word, it's just going to break it up into two messages. So what might you use this for? Applications of this. Now, what I use it for is alerting our ARIES members, our leadership, our assistant coordinators here in our group. I use it to alert our served agencies and our AHJ. We do a monthly test with our county EOC, and that monthly test, we just send a message to the director of the EOC and the assistant, and I send a message to the director of the EOC here in Ridgecrest, as well as our AHJs here, our hospital, and all of our assistant coordinators. I send that message out every month on a regular schedule just for testing. And so the idea is, should the infrastructure be down out here, in other words, if we lose everything, all of our telecom infrastructure, cellular, internet, and landlines, I still have the means to be able to alert our agency in the EOC over on the other side of the mountains here that we've got a problem here and that our communications are down. So the other thing is, you can use it anything, net reminder, sending out a net reminder to your members for that you got a net. And of course, I'm always looking for more suggestions for this. People will come up with all kinds of applications for this, but it's a great tool. Yeah, I gotta give credit. I mentioned that before. KK6 RJR. Whoops. Yeah, man, this is messed up. We use it to send alert messages to the county EOC, and the beauty of that is we're separated by a range of mountains, so I can't send a message directly to the EOC if the telecoms are down altogether. There's no way I can get a message to them. There's no way the EOC here could get a message to them, our city EOC. So we use WinLink on HF and go through an RMS gateway somewhere else, way from here on HF, and that gets routed to the gateways to their phones. It can also be routed that way to their EOC. We have a WinLink station, or they have a WinLink station in the EOC that's on a packet network. So if I can hit an RMS gateway and it'll route it to their packet network, which is also tied into an RMS gateway. So I can always get messages to these guys, which is important for us. I mentioned all that stuff. Let's see. Okay. So replies, you can get a reply. They can send a message back to you. And it's just like when you're using WinLink. You use that / WL2K as the preface to the subject. And unless their email is whitelisted, you use that. If they're whitelisted, it doesn't matter. But they can send a message right back to you, which is really useful. So my next step, we're going to try it. We're going to open a new message in WinLink. We're going to form the address, and we'll add some text to it.
Wait. How are you going to do this without the internet?
I don't need the internet.
The telcos have
I've already
gate-
got all, Dan, I said earlier, I've already got all the information for the numbers that are critical to my
I understand
operations.
that. I understand that. So how is WinLink going to route stuff to various gateways?
Because I'm going to send it to a gateway that's 200 miles away, that's not
Okay.
affected by our local outage.
And how are the people in the locality where there is no cellular service?
That's here where we are.
Right.
That's the process. Our telecoms, we're in an isolated community. Our telecoms go down regularly here. Okay, you know that. Our phones are out all the time. And this allows us to go out on HF. I can go to an RMS, and typically I use one down in LA, or I use the one over in Rick's over in Las Vegas. Those two I use all the time. I get out on HF. I don't have to rely on any telecoms here in our valley. I'm relying on telecoms elsewhere.
Fine, but how do those other telecoms get the message to people in the valley where you are?
They're not.
If
They're
there's
not.
no cellular,
I'm not trying to get it to the people here in the valley. I'm trying to get a message over to our EOC. That's what it's for, technically. Really,
okay.
Okay,
in an emergency, those are the guys I want to let know that there's an emergency here, because there's no other way to let them know.
okay, let's let the presentation go forward and we can ask
Thanks.
afterwards.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a bit. Okay, so let me bring up, I've got WinLink running here. And somewhere I've got a message form. There we go. And so I'm going to send this to me. So it'll be 15628582883 at txt.att.net. So that's the address I'm going to use. And I've actually got this set up as, I can show you real quick. I've got these set up as group addresses for these numbers. And that's what all this is here. I've got the group addresses set up here. I guess I don't need the one. I don't need the preceding one, I guess. I don't need that. I just added that. I don't need the one. I think I can just do it like that. Okay, then I'm going to say WL2K. This is a demo of SMS gateways. And I'm going to say test message. Okay, so I've got that. There's my message. I'm going to post it. And assuming that I typed everything in correctly, which I hope I did, we'll bring up the radio here. Let's see. And I've got my phone on, so when it rings, you'll hear it. I think we're not busy there, so let's see if I'm good to go here. I should be tuned up. Yeah, there we go. Okay. You can hear we're trying to connect. And there it is. If you want to see what's going on, there's the connection right there.
Zoom's noise gate is blanking the audio from your radio, so we can't
What's that?
hear
I'm
it.
sorry.
Zoom's noise gate is blanking the audio from your radio. We can't hear it.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting that you can't hear it.
Yeah.
Well, you can at least see it.
You might forgot to click when you went to desktop, you should have.
Yeah, I should have shared the audio from the desktop. I failed to do that.
Just keep on talking.
Yeah.
Okay, let's all of us let him do the presentation and not talk here. That includes me, folks.
Up.
Dennis.
Sorry.
Dennis.
Yes, sir.
Steve Waterman. How are you,
Yeah, hi,
sir?
Steve.
You may want to just say that in any incident or any probable incident, we have a 205 or 217 that
Well, that's
can
what I
be
have.
turned into a 205.
Yeah,
The
that's what I've
same is
got
true
here.
with telephone numbers. It's always good to have probable calling numbers that you would use in an
Absolutely.
incident. And by having those already available, you don't need internet or anything else to look them up. You just have them.
This is a soft copy of my document that I have here. It's got it has the 205, our comm plan. It has all of our important frequencies out of the area. It has all of our members. It has all the important phone numbers, plus the gateway SMS numbers and email numbers for all of our agencies and our membership. So yeah, I've got all that stuff already. This is for Eastern Kern County areas. So that's where I got it all. It's in a hard copy. That's just the master copy. But you did hear, were you able to hear the phone beep when it came in?
No.
Okay. Ooh, the sender's not in your contact list. Report as junk. So if you can see that, there's the message I just sent. It looks like it's fairly legible there. And what I can do now is I can actually reply to this. And send that. And go back over to WinLink. You can bring that back up here. Oh, where are you? Heck, there it is. All right, so here's my WinLink. Now, if I connect again, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't think about doing the audio for the SDR. That was dumb, but I'll push that out of the way. If I connect, it looks like that's some activity there. I may have to switch to a different gateway or RMS gateway.
Dennis, I wouldn't worry. Anybody but a ham would think it was irritating noise.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, you know what I can do? Let's
music.
Let's do this just to show that I want to show that I got the message back. I can just go here to, oh, that's the second time today. I'll get that later. By the way, Steve, thank you for taking that suggestion of making the default to update. We didn't get a chance to talk about that. And there's my message back that I sent, and I got the message back. It says received. So there you have a demo of what you can do with that. Now, some important things to keep in mind. And let me get rid of this stuff here that I've got up and get back to here. Okay, you should be seeing the charts again. Important things to keep in mind. And Dan Sohn brought this point up that without internet, I mean, I can't send an alert message to my team here if I don't have internet. So it does require that I have internet to be able to do that. But I can send out announcements for meetings. I can send out announcements for nets, anything where I need to get an announcement out, and I can use multiple email addresses in the message. So I can, like I say, I've got group message addresses that are preset in WinLink. So I can just pull one of those guys up, and one is labeled for the AHJs, and one is labeled for our Aries assistant coordinators. And I just pull up those two group addresses, and I'm good to go. But it does require that the person who's receiving at the other end, which in the case of what we're using it for are the guys over in Bakersfield on the other side of the mountains, it does require that their cellular system, their mobile system, is working over there. And it doesn't mean that the internet needs to be working over there, because we can get the message through. If there's no internet, we can still get the message through to the Western Kern County areas using WinLink into their packet network over there via the RMS over in the RMSs that we use in LA and elsewhere. So there you have it. It's a simple process. The key to it is knowing who the carrier is. and not an ambiguous knowledge of the carrier. I got to figure out why that's not working. That's crazy, because when I tested everything yesterday, when I finished up the charts, everything looked okay. It all worked. It came back with the correct carrier And it's like, oh, man. There are paid services, by the way. You can actually, there's a fee that you can get a little bit more information on that mobile carrier and what's going on with it, what kind of telephone they're using, and all that kind of stuff. But for what we're doing, knowing the gateway is all that's really necessary. So there you go. And like I said, short talk. So any question? We've had a lot of comments and questions. Are there any others? Let me stop sharing here. Boom. There we go.
Okay, Dan, you got your hand up. Now is the time to ask questions.
I'm going to defer to Greg, but I want to applaud what Dennis is doing because I see the utility of it for day-to-day operations locally, and the fact that HF will be useful for this means that in addition to standard, peering ISP email addresses, if you've got the cell phone numbers and carrier of whomever, wherever in your state or region that needs to know what's going on, this is a good tool.
Mhm.
I just have, and deep in my heart, I know that somebody someplace probably has some code running that tells them what the carrier is for any 10-digit number in the country, but we probably just don't have the clearances to get access to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to answer. There are a couple of comments in chat. I want to respond to a couple of those. One was Loretta asked about MMS. I do not use MMS.att.net because it doesn't work. I put it up there because that is one of the two gateways. There is an MMS gateway, but it won't work with this. I've never been able to get it to work right with this. It doesn't make it. It basically bounces the message. So I don't use MMS.att.net. And I think that probably may apply to the other MMS gateways as well. So I think I covered the one, how do you get an ISP? Jed asks how you get an ISP address for the provider. And you saw how I went through the ill-fated attempt at finding my carrier. Once you've got the carrier, you use the other link that I provided that gives you the list of all the carriers and gives you their gateway address. So there you go. Yeah, it's interesting, Scott, what you're saying there, doing a carbon copy when you send messages to, yeah, I do the same thing just to make sure it's going out. And again, like I mentioned from Dan's comment earlier, is that if our internet is down here in the Valley, I can't send a message to our members. The presumption is that there is a different situation on the other side of the mountains because of our isolation. So in reality, you may or may not be able to use this in every situation, but for, like Dan said, in normal day-to-day operations, perfectly useful thing to do and good to know about. So Greg's got a comment.
Yes, I do.
Hi, Greg.
There is a WinLink template that will assist you in this.
Okay.
If you go to standard forms, general templates, there's one called Quick Message. If you want to bring that up.
Yeah, I was going to bring
it up. It has a list of many carriers.
I wondered when that was going to come up.
Yeah. I just don't use that. I just do it.
Okay, well then you don't need to. Okay.
I don't
Thank
need
you.
To, but no. Well, let's show it. Now, where you said it's in standard templates?
We consider this the Enigma wiring on the wheels. And we just spoke in an address, phone number with each of those carriers.
This is the one you're talking about, the quick message.txt.
Well, yeah, it's a WinLink form. Yeah,
this one.
We can't see your form.
You can, or you should be able to see it.
No, your desktop.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Sorry. Let me do that real quick.
Yeah, that form also has the lookup for the MMS carriers.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, this one does. I've not been able to get this one to work, but you see, this requires that you need to know. That's the same problem. You need to know who the carrier is. So I just use just a standard message form and just enter because I've got all the information. I just enter it as a text message. It makes it easy. So I enter the phone number, and there's the phone number, select the carrier, and see, this has ATT MMS, and that will not work.
Try it.
I'll try
I've
it.
used
Yeah.
it. I've used it. The reason the MMS ones are on there is because it doesn't have the 160 character limit.
Right, but when I've tried to use this in the past,
Using
okay.
this form,
What's
or
that?
using this form, or using it?
Well, no, just using a standard message form. It's the same. It's formatted the same way. It's the same exact address.
No, it isn't.
Well, you're right. Pardon me. It's mms.att.net instead of txt.att.net, but it's the same number.
Don't forget to click the date.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Date.
Yep. Okay. So if I submit that, let's see, I think I got everything up there I need. Submit. Okay. So all I would, yeah, okay, post to Outbox. I'm just going to use Telnet this time. We won't worry about it. I'll just do a Telnet session. Okay.
Bingo.
So let's see what happens this time. The last time I did this, it didn't work.
This is a great presentation. Lots of participants, lots of information, lots of mistakes along the way that we get to learn from.
Well, they're all. See, this is interesting to me that you're saying that this works, but you notice, well, okay, it did. I just got a message. Okay, it did work this time. I stand corrected. When I've used this in the past to try,
Greg is a template god.
Yeah, I know that. Yes.
If it doesn't
bow
work,
down to you, Greg. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, there are actually two templates in WinLink Express. One is the one you're using also under the RRI template forms.
Oh, okay.
There is a welfare message template. It's
right.
essentially the same thing.
Yeah, you mentioned
Yeah,
that.
it's essentially the same thing, and it has short message texts that were developed by the Red Cross in the Northwest Washington section, and so forth.
Okay.
But the same idea. But N1LJK, who's on here, I think can be arm twisted to talk about the no carrier needed to send a message.
No carrier needed to send a message.
Let's hear that.
Oh, I want to hear that.
Can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Yeah, it is a problem. I don't know my own mother's cell phone provider. So there is a service which I've been working on that uses an API running on a server to receive emails. And it takes the phone number that it's sent to at a domain and uses that phone number, which is the recipient's phone number, to look it up on basically the same database that these free carrier services use to find a carrier. And then it recomposes the email and sends it to that carrier's email to SMS gateway. It does not send it to the MMS gateway because in testing, I've found that some MVNO or resellers of wireless carriers such as RATPAC or other service providers don't actually support the MMS because I think it's more expensive is part of the reason, but for whatever reason, some of it doesn't work. And it's only a very small percentage, whereas all of the SMS messages, which are shorter, do work. So to summarize, it works basically the same way, except instead of sending from WinLink's perspective, a WinLink message to phone number at carrier so-and-so.com, you are sending your message to phone number at, and then for the time being, the test server is winlink.fiddler.net, which is just a test server. This is being developed and worked with Radio Relay. So that would eventually be the ultimate domain. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know the carrier or anything else. It is limited to slightly less than the full SMS message capabilities due to the subject being transmitted as part of the total character count of the SMS message. More information can be found at winlink.fiddler.net. There's a page there that describes what it is, how it works, where to get the form, and we would appreciate people using it to see where it fails. So far, the only failure we've had has been that it still uses the carrier's email to SMS service, which means that the sending or relaying server, which is just receiving the message from WinLink and then recomposing it and sending it on, if that were to be viewed as spam by the carrier, then it would not be transmitted, which is a problem because that means you'd have to have control of every carrier. So there's a secondary product that is in its infancy, which is to bypass the carrier gateway to send the message directly from the receiving server, something similar to what we currently have, but instead of sending it to the carrier's email to SMS gateway, it's injected directly into an SMS network. And in that instance, MMS would work. However, there's a cost associated with it. So we're taking our time to develop it because each time a message is sent, it's pennies or fraction thereof. So that's the all-encompassing summary of the service.
That is fantastic.
I'd like to take this time to remind everybody, when you're on, if you have a camera, please turn it on.
Damon, thank you for that. Thank you for what you're doing. That is fantastic. That is excellent.
Yeah, we've used it in a number of exercises from Seattle to points all over the country, and the success rate has been very good.
Super. And you're encouraging us to use it, to experiment with it, so we'll do that.
Okay.
I'll start using that.
Turn your cameras on if you're going to speak. David's had his hand up.
Yeah, Dave. Sorry, Dave.
No, that's fine. My question is, I did an experiment. I sent a message to my cell phone, and then I replied from my cell phone to my WinLink address. And what WinLink got was garbage because my cell phone automatically sent it as an MMS message.
Oh, interesting. Who's your carrier?
T-Mobile.
Oh.
And it's an Android phone. But the moral is that it means that the email recipient is going to have to be trained to make sure they only respond as an SMS, if possible.
We have a DLL that takes that HTML out of there. I don't know what went wrong there, but I can't answer that because the people that need to know aren't here. But could you send me an email about that or a text message? I'm at k4cjx@comcast.net and give me that information. So I can't remember it 5 minutes if you don't, sir. Can I turn my camera off now, Dan?
Yes.
I just sent up a text to my T-Mobile phone, and when it showed up, I got a pop-up message that said converting to MMS or to multimedia on the phone. The incoming message.
Interesting. Steve, before you run off there, I didn't catch you in time, but Dave, who was asking a question, he maintains an RMS gateway here in Ridgecrest. It's a 2-meter gateway here for us. So thought you might like to know that. Okay. Well, this has been interesting.
If I can just add one last thing, the service with Radio Relay, and I have turned my camera on. You can probably see why it was off. There's not much to see here with the lights off. Wife has gone to bed. the service is only one way because of the difficulty in rerouting some of the messages through carrier gateways. We have tried to build something that works all of the time. That's why we would love people to test this. Part of the reason why the message is limited in character counts is we include a header which says this is a one-way message. It's mostly used for health and welfare to get a message out to let people know that what the status is. So the second phase of the product hopefully will be bi-directional, but one thing at a time.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the whole process that we're using with the Seattle folks is at radiorelay.org under I Am Safe program.
And we'll now have a moment of silence.
Well, I was being quiet here because I'm writing that down. I'm making some notes. Oh, it's cool. Thank you, Steve.
Well, I have a question about that process. Is winlink.fiddler.net just a website?
It is a website where there's information about the service. Fiddler.net is my personal website. It was just a site that I was using to host the service while it's being tested. But it is a website. If you go to HTTP, just type in winlink.fiddler.net and you'll get an HTML text-only page with information and links to where to download the form, which is a very, very basic form. You can use it without the form by composing a phone number to @winlink.fiddler.net, but the website helps explain what the service is and how it works.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right.
Okay, anybody else out there?
Greg put an interesting comment in the comments.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Anybody else got anything?
I can't get yesterday's Enigma presentation out of my mind.
That was incredible.
It was. I mean, it's just a phenomenal. That is the basics of how encryption works today. Well, absent the massive computing capability that you can throw at it from both directions.
All types of different algorithms for doing encryption, and they do use different techniques, Dan. They're not all doing a rotor type technique like the Enigma uses. You've got blockchain encryption and all kinds of the AES 256 is what's called a blockchain encryptor. Okay. And it does a totally different process.
Can we get back to the presentation that we're doing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any more questions, answers, whatever, regarding the subject matter? I don't see any. Okay.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Loretta. Appreciate that. Greg, thank you for what you do, my friend. You're doing some awesome stuff, and we really appreciate that. And Damon, thank you for sharing that with us about the gateway that you're working on. That's a really neat tool. So I will definitely be playing with that and stay in touch. Steve's got a hand up.
I see that. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. Anytime anybody has a template that they're using and they think it, quote, doesn't work, close, please let somebody in the WinLink development team, either over the WinLink programs group or somebody that that is closely associated with WinLink, or Greg himself, let us know, because those templates are not something to, they need to be as accurate as possible. Those are what are used by people who need them when they need them. It's not a casual thing, and anything that you think that may have a flaw in it, we certainly want to know so we can fix it. If it's your problem, we have no problem letting you know, and you can go to that WinLink website and get a resolution about why it didn't work for you. And when you do that, there are 4,800 people on there who will also get the same information. So everybody wins. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, not just about this subject, but when it comes to anything that doesn't work, if you let one of us know, and it really doesn't work, you've done us a big favor. If it does work and you can't do it, you've done yourself a favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for what you do too.
You know, it takes a village. We got a lot of people that make things happen. It's good.
You betcha.
Okay, Dan, put your hand up again. Holy cow, go for it, Dan.
I want to follow up what Steve was talking about and say, if you really want to learn WinLink, make it a habit to read the, somebody's going to have to correct me, but it's the Google Programs for WinLink group, where those questions are asked and answered every day. And no BS. Everybody's, polite and forthright. And the goal is to have everybody understanding how to use WinLink. There's no better, no matter how much we learn by presentations and taking classes and experimenting and trying to figure things out on our own, if you read that every day, you will soon be inculcated in, first of all, how to get your own problem solved by answering the questions in a succinctly worded way, and learn what everybody else's problems are and what the good solutions are. I can't praise that highly enough, and I'm real stingy about praise for things like that. It's basically a universally accessible help desk that beats anything else I've seen ever.
Actually, I have one last question for Damon. Damon, do you mind if I add your website to my to the presentation? I'm going to send these charts to Dan in a few minutes. I'm going to make a couple of corrections, the obvious typos that I had in there. I'm going to fix that. But do you have any objections to me including the link to your website, winlink.fiddler.net?
No, I don't. As long as if it's a part of a presentation, just make sure it's dated. This is a temporary testing server.
Okay. I'll make note of that. I'm just going to make it as a postscript to the presentation and say that it is experimental at this point.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah. Just one comment. You might also include a link to the radiorelay.org site.
Good point.
And the I Am Safe program. It's the I Am Safe is under miscellaneous in the header on the main page. So you have to go over to the right and then click other or whatever it is.
Okay.
We'll bring that eventually onto the main page, but that'll go through the procedures that are being used.
Okay. That's another good suggestion, Steve. Thank you. I will do that. I'll add both of those to it. Good stuff.
Very good.
Thank you.
This has been a great presentation. Been information from all different ways. I love it. It's what they say is supposed to do. Educational for everybody, right?
Yeah, and I thought this was going to be a short, short talk. This has turned out to be really good. I appreciate everybody's contributions and participation. We all learned a little bit of new stuff tonight, so this is great.
Yeah, yes. Great discussion.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have more of these kind of discussions. I give more people a hard time about not turning their cameras on.
Dennis,
I don't have one.
Oh,
Dennis, do you need my mailing address?
No, I've got your mail address.
Oh, I just wondered. I was looking at that radio behind you.
Which one? You're always bugging me about those radios behind me. I'll have to come up with some different views in here so you can see some of the other radios that are around here.
If a video drop behind you with a whole different station, blow everybody's mind. Okay, folks.
All right. Dan, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. The comments, the whole thing has been a very good one. It's always healthy when we can discuss things like we can right here, and I like that.
Steve, real quick, Dan, Steve sent a message that he sent directly to me. It probably meant to go to the whole group, so you might want to check that, Steve.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I just caught that. I was just looking at that. You'd send it to me instead of the whole group, so that's a good thing to have out there. Ditto.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Hey.
Unless there's something else, we'll start wrapping this up. We're still wrapping it up, especially for what it usually goes over. So,
Yeah, thanks for pointing out what I was talking about. How to connect up with the WinLink programs group.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Okay. Dan, thank you for being our host, as always, on RATPAC, and really enjoyed this.
I've enjoyed it too. It's been different this trip around.
Yes.
First, I was trying to get everybody, herd everybody back into their little chicken coops and such, and it's like, and then I realized, no, this is good. This is good conversation. Let him go.
I've got a question. Is anybody seeing Skywarn training coming out of their local NOAA regional offices? That normally happens in October, and at least in California, and it's not. I have not seen anything about that.
We got winter training here.
California doesn't need Skywarn.
we get winter right. We get winter training here in Michigan.
Yes.
In Maine, we got this week winter and coastal flooding, and that was a repeat of a pair of October sessions.
Yeah.
Apparently, it snowed more this past week in Anchorage than it has in anybody's memory.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, well, at least here in Michigan, we get our Skywarn. The regular Skywarn is like in the early spring, like March or April.
Your local training, okay?
Yeah.
And December 2nd, is that the Skywarn Recognition Day?
Yeah, there's just an article in the ARRL newsletter today that came out about Skywarn Recognition Day.
Okie doke.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you.